back, and we're super excited because this week we have Johnny Howard on the show to talk about his latest film that he co-wrote with his wife, who you might know as well. We love creative freaking couples, man. We really do, especially those who strive in the entertainment industry, because the entertainment industry can be very hectic. Trust us, we know. So to have someone who knows what you're going through at a day job or at your work life, I think that is very important, because if one person is in the entertainment industry and the other person is not, they're not going to understand fully what you're going through. And we talk about that in this interview.
Oh, we certainly do. And I like that they are very like-minded in their approach to what they're making, their content. They are story-driven and want to entertain, but they also want to keep it real and bring in things that are going on in society and in the world and talk about them. That's exactly how we kind of approach our content. And so that was really exciting. And since you brought up the couples and how that kind of works, they've also figured out a way to balance when one is at one point more successful than the other one. Because that's what, it's sometimes when you are both in the industry, you can get in trouble if the ego gets in the way sometimes, if one is seeing some success and one isn't. And he talks a little bit about how they balance that, which I thought was extraordinary. It's a really great interview. You guys are going to love it. And there's so much great advice for anybody trying to do it, which we always love, right?
Exactly. They talk about their new short film, Happy Ending. We're super excited to talk about that. It is not out anywhere where you can see it. It's making the film festival circuit, but we're going to talk a little bit about the story and where that came from. But that conversation is a little bit later on in the show. Now, let's get a little crazy. Hello, everyone. So you want to start a podcast but have no idea where to start? Well, Crazy Ant Media is here to help you. We want to assist you finding your VFE. What's VFE, you ask? Well, that is your voice, your format, and your equipment. These are the three biggest essentials you need to start your podcast. All those hours watching nonstop YouTube videos or all those random website links, those are done. Just hop on a Zoom call with us and we'll talk about everything you need to know to create your own podcast and find your voice. Plus, we will send you home with a 12-page packet over everything we just discussed. It's very in-depth. It is definitely a must-need while trying to start your first podcast. Contact us at info@crazyantmedia.com today so that you can start finding your podcast voice for tomorrow. What's up, guys? Oh my goodness, welcome back. Episode 275 of ITCAF.
Oh my
Podcast.
God,
that is absolutely crazy, man. I mean, my hips hurt. I'm not even gonna lie. My hips really freaking hurt. So it's great to be back and to be able to do what we love to do, which is talk about the entertainment industry.
Yes.
And you guys know your host with the most, myself, J-Lo Fantastic, and the one and only Mao.
What's up?
Boy, oh boy, before we go into all of the entertainment news, be sure to leave a rating on this podcast, comment below, and tell us what you actually think about this show. Because if you didn't know, leaving a rating on this podcast actually helps it get seen by more people who enjoy entertainment news, but especially those who are breaking into the entertainment industry. We at Crazy Ant Media love lending a helping hand to anyone trying to break in, so we love to do that anytime we get a chance to, and we get a chance to every single week on this podcast. But man, oh man, we have a lot to talk about this week. Election. That happened. That's out of the way. So we're not going to tell you about any of the hoorah, blah, blah, blah. We're just going to talk about numbers. What portion of America was watching the election coverage? Because, last week it took it took 5 days until we finally got a president-elect. This week, or this time around, we only took about less than 24 hours after all polls closed.
Yeah, it was. I mean, some networks called it that night, but the rest of them called it at like 4 a.m. the next morning. So less than 24 hours. It was quick.
And it was quick. We're going to talk about those ratings. We're going to talk a little bit more about the Star Wars franchise. What's going to happen? We don't really understand what Kathleen Kennedy is doing, but we're going to dive deep into that. But we're super excited about all of the craziness. But man, oh man, also be sure to visit our website, www.crazyantmedia.com, where you can start rocking the latest and greatest Crazy Ant Media gear. We got shirts, we got hats, we got phone cases, we have freaking teddy bears. We have basically anything and everything you need for your customer service needs. We love it.
And it's all currently 22% off of everything right now. I know that's a weird number, right? 22% off. But there it is. It's 22% off of everything, I think through Sunday. So get on it, people. That's a good time to buy.
It is. Christmas is just around the corner, so be sure to check that out. Well, we do want to start off with some somber news in this industry news segment this week. Man, oh man, we lost a few legends in the entertainment industry. First one we want to recognize is the late, great Quincy Jones. He was a musician, composer, producer, and songwriter. Who doesn't know that? If you don't know that, you've been living under a rock.
Right.
And his career spanned 7 decades and covered everything from Michael Jackson's Thriller to frequent collaborations with Frank Sinatra, producing on the big screen adaptation for The Color Purple and composing some of the memorable film and television music we have ever heard. He was behind The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. He was behind Whitney Houston. He was behind so many freaking people, man. This guy lived a hell of a life. He really did. He was 91 years old when he passed away. So this is crazy. This is really crazy. This is a big loss for the music industry, especially when, you know, there's not a lot of people you can really look up to who are at that stature, who haven't done anything shady and who are not assholes. I've heard Quincy Jones could have been an asshole every once in a while, but it's good to be stern and let the up and comers know how to do it rather than, you know, let them fall on their face. And from what I've conceived, it seems like he was more of that type of person. But yeah, huge loss, man.
You know, we talk about it all the time, though. You cannot reach a level of success that Quincy Jones reached without being an asshole sometimes. Every massively successful person in whatever field that they are in is sometimes an asshole. You have to be sometimes. That's just fact. So, and he was We Are the World. He was with Michael Jackson and Lionel Richie on Manifesting and bringing that thing to life. There's not too many people that you can drop names like Michael Jackson, Frank Sinatra, Oprah Winfrey, and Steven Spielberg in the same sentence and say that you were connected to all of them, but he was.
Right.
And he delivered us the wonderful, beautifully, and talented Rashida Jones, if you guys don't know, daughter, and who's killing it in the entertainment industry as well. It's a very talented family, and she was clearly brought up and inspired by her dad. And yeah, it's a loss. She did a beautiful tribute to him too. If you haven't checked it out, go check it out, guys. We also lost another legend dear to my heart because my generation, and I think if you're a fan, have ever seen Young Frankenstein or Tootsie or Friends, or this is another one that spanned decades and generations. Teri Garr finally lost her battle with multiple sclerosis at the age of 79. It was a long battle, you know. She had been sick for a while and dealing with it for a while, and kind of disappeared out of the limelight once it started to really take hold. But this is just another brilliant comedic actress. David Letterman and Michael Keaton and so many came out and with these beautiful tributes to her and really attributed her for their success. I feel like she did probably launch quite a few comedians. Can you even imagine Young Frankenstein without her? Like, I mean, God rest both their souls now. Both of them, we've lost both of them. And maybe, hopefully they've reunited and they're just killing it up there, making everybody laugh. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, Teri Garr, so sad, man. You know, when you lose legends like that, especially two of them so quick back to back, that's a hard thing to do. But, you know, long lives for both. 79's young, but not, you know, not a life not fulfilled, right? And she had quite the career and quite the, you know, so thoughts and prayers to both families and, you know, gone but never forgotten. Their legacy will live on forever.
That's right. And then doing a little fact checking on myself, it was Clive Davis who
Yeah, behind
discovered
Whitney Houston.
Not,
I wasn't.
not Quincy
I
Jones.
wasn't gonna say it. I see. You see, I did really well.
No,
I was about to
please,
jump on
no,
that shit.
please do it.
Like
Please do
I
it.
was hot for Whitney Houston back in the day, bitch. Don't get it wrong. No.
All right.
But I
Clive
was like,
Davis.
oh, I'm gonna
My
leave that
bad.
alone.
My
No,
bad.
it's all
Wrong
good.
one.
Clive
Oh,
Davis
man.
doesn't remember anyway at this point. They asked him about
Yeah.
Whitney Houston. He practically didn't know who she was. I'm like, you
Yeah.
fucking made her, bro. Like, what
Yeah.
the fuck? He's gone.
So funny. It's fine. It's fine.
Speaking of somebody that doesn't know anything.
Yeah, like election ratings. We are going to be talking about that. Approximately 42.3 million viewers tuned into the primetime coverage of the 2024 U.S. presidential election on Tuesday night, according to Nielsen's data. That seems like a lot, right? Well, that covers the viewing period from approximately 7 to 11 p.m. Eastern Time across 18 networks. Now, specifically, we're talking about ABC, CBS, Fox, NBC, CW, Merit Street Media, Scripps News, Telemundo, Univision, CNBC, CNN, CNNE, Fox News Channel, Fox Business Network, MSNBC, Newsmax, News Nation, and PBS. Now, like I said, 42.3 million. That seems like a lot. Well, guess what? That was actually down significantly from the 2020 election, which estimated drew about 56.9 million. So about 57 million viewers, equating to a drop off. Now, between those two election cycles, that is a 26% drop off. Were people just expecting a landslide either way? Were people just like, I don't care, hands up? Like, we've been in this situation the past decade where we're like, okay, let's choose the best out of a bad situation.
Yeah.
So maybe that was it. But I mean, it's a very interesting time to be alive, to say the least. But I'm curious though, because the election, it is such a hot button issue. If you look on social media, I'm sure everybody else who is listening to this podcast, I know myself and Dustin both had a lot of people on social media who were just like either one side or the other on social media and like complaining about each other and talking about the election. And so it was a big thing. But it is very interesting because of social media, though. I feel like that was probably the reason why we saw this drop in viewership, because all night on TikTok, people were live streaming the election coverage. So I bet people were watching it that way rather than doing it another way. I know for myself, I don't know if this includes this, but I was watching ABC Live. So
It is included in that. Yeah.
you with YouTube.
Yeah.
So live streaming on YouTube through ABC Live. So yeah, it's very interesting to see how people are watching and getting their news cycles these days. I don't know, man. It's interesting.
I would agree with you. I think that social media and following along on social media probably had a huge impact on the significant drop by watching it normal mainstream media. I also think that most people thought that it was going to be an easy win for Kamala and didn't tune in because of that. And it's also interesting because they tracked it till 11 p.m. and by 11 p.m. we had no clear winner.
Yeah.
They hadn't even declared. I think maybe at 11 p.m., if I'm not mistaken, they finally declared North Carolina, which was the first swing state that they declared. So at that point, we didn't know who was going to win. So to drop off after 11, it's like that's when it started getting good. Like, I will say one thing, though. If you saw the next morning, the stock market blew up. Everything was up. They were happy about it. They seem to think things are going to be good underneath the winner. And then I'm going to call out the hypocrisy, and then we're going to move on. Every single celebrity and or person involved in the entertainment industry that vilified the man, especially studio heads, I'm going to specifically talk about the studio heads, vilified him, called him nasty things, whatever, said they would leave the country, blah, blah, blah. Now they're saying that they hope that he follows through with the tax benefits and that him and Elon Musk will do what they have to do, and so that their studios are in desperate need of it. I'm like, you can't have it both ways. You just say what you are. Say you disagree with him politically, but you like what he's going to do with the economy, or say that you can't stand anything about him and move on. But you can't vilify the man as Hitler and then say you want him to give you something. To me, the hypocrisy is just insane. Just call it like it is. Be honest about what you want. There's nothing wrong with taking advantage of tax breaks. Businesses do it all the time. There's nothing wrong with that. I have a problem with if you're going to take advantage of it while you're calling the guy who's giving it to you Hitler. Even if he is Hitler. I'm not getting into the political aspect of it. I have my opinions. I think if you listen to our other podcasts, you know how we think. But I'm just saying, you seem kind of stupid when you say one thing and then ask for another thing. And I know why now, though. Let's transition. I know why they want help, because the film division's Q3 ended, guys. Our Q3 ended. We're in Q4 also. We're in better shape than most of these guys, I'm happy to say. But most of the film divisions of the Hollywood studios are in trouble, y'all. And they need this. This is good news. They're hoping for this. According to everything that we're seeing, it's looking like we could see the biggest Thanksgiving box office on record over the 5-day span of the holiday, Wednesday through Sunday. Now, Disney's Moana 2 is tracking, get this, guys, to clear $135 million over the Wednesday to Sunday time span. That would best the record of the $125 million 5-day Thanksgiving haul of Frozen 2 and the $93.5 million 5-day haul from Frozen. Now, that's not it, though. Why are they so excited? Because there's also Universal's Wicked and Paramount's Gladiator 2 that are both looking to open at $80 million and $65 million respectively. Now, all three films are expected to play a strong performance throughout the holiday, as Black Friday as typically one of the largest box office days every year. But I mean, if you add that up, guys, if that hauls in 135 plus 80 plus 65, that's massive. That's a massive opening weekend for the box office over that span. So, fingers crossed, because I have been going to see a lot of movies and I've been sitting in a lot of theaters by myself. So I'm just saying, maybe a sprinkle here or a sprinkle there, but almost all the time by myself, and that's not even exaggeration. The theaters need this year to year. You know, they had Oppenheimer last year, they had Barbie last year. They are suffering this year, and they need something. They need something.
They really do. And we talk about competition all the time. Who's this top studio in Hollywood? Who is making the most impact to the family sector? Who's making the most impact to that 18 to 25, you know, and that age demographic? But I love this, though, because this is really what they needed. Every freaking weekend, we talk about the box office recap and how, you know, one studio just dominates the box office. But that Thanksgiving weekend, hopefully, they can all dominate the box office, okay? We are obviously massive fans of Disney. We love when Disney wins, but we also love when Hollywood wins, just in general, because Hollywood needs a freaking win. This last 5 years has been so rough on the entertainment industry, so the freaking studios need this. They need a win. So we're hoping for it. We're pulling for it. And yeah, I can't remember the last Thanksgiving where it was very successful, because last Thanksgiving, I feel like, you know, some artsy family films came out. That was 2 years ago. The Holdovers, I think. And then freaking that Thanksgiving scary movie with freaking Patrick Dempsey. Like, you know, so the studios need a win, okay? The studios need a win. And Disney is trying to do that, okay? Again, we talk about it all the time. Disney is the #1 studio, and they keep trying to produce hit after hit after hit. Even with some of their beloved franchises that do get freaking critically bashed, okay? Including Star Wars. That's right. Star Wars is in development on a brand new freaking trilogy. And they have some likely successful people accompanying them. Simon Kinberg, who is an X-Men alumni, who is set to write and produce 3 films with Chief Kathleen Kennedy. This will begin a new series with new characters. Now, exact plot details have not been released, but this is a good news. This is a good sign, because, like, over the past 5 years, pre-pandemic, we've seen so many freaking Star Wars projects be announced, be in development, and then go absolutely nowhere. Where is Patty Jenkins' Star Wars movie? Where is Kevin Feige's Star Wars movie? We're talking about a new trilogy with Rey in a mentor role. When are we seeing that? So this will be very interesting to see how the audience approaches this, because last time, I'm not gonna lie, the Force Awakens trilogy, I guess, the Rey trilogy, I think we started off with a whole bunch of hate. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
hoping that fans do not go into this new trilogy with that same mindset, because we're not going to get anywhere. And if this trilogy does not work out, Star Wars just needs to be a freaking television franchise. That's my opinion, just
Um,
because it's not working out in theaters.
well, here's the problem that I have. I saw literally right before we came on doing this that I think the other trilogy that you mentioned is going to be scrapped because they are now saying, "Uh oh,
Bless
excuse
you.
me, guys. This is how I feel about it. It's working me up." They are now saying that Rey will serve as the Obi-Wan Kenobi character in this universe moving forward, and it will include this trilogy. So does that mean the trilogy that was going to focus on her as the mentor is kind of scrapped now, and now these new characters, she'll be like the Obi-Wan for these new characters? That concerns me because there was supposed to be another trilogy focusing on her and kind of guiding a new crop of Jedis. So what does it exactly mean, the Obi-Wan Kenobi moving forward?
Right.
What? She hasn't even Obi earned his shit. She's still kind of young. I mean, are we time jumping? Is she gonna play an
She
old
is
lady?
very young. Yeah, I
I
mean, she
mean,
took down the freaking Sith once. Okay,
yeah,
just like
yeah,
she took them down once. Luke, even though can be a crybaby bitch, was supposed to be like the biggest Jedi and the most powerful Jedi of all time
yeah, yeah.
after, all the shit. But I mean, he took down the Sith multiple times. And yeah, I don't know, man. I
I'm
think she still does have a lot of, ground to prove herself. And yeah, Obi-Wan went through the Clone Wars. He
yeah,
went through freaking his Anakin becoming Darth Vader and still surviving that, and then watching his fucking kids grow.
yeah.
Like, it's crazy.
So to liken her to him all of a sudden, I just don't feel. And I'm gonna tell you where the problem is right now. Kathleen Kennedy. I'm
It is
sorry. I'm
big
sorry,
time.
but she has misguided the ship since Lucas left. She has.
Yep.
She has taken the Millennium Falcon and nosedived it into disaster. And until she's gone, I don't think the film side is going to recover. That is just my opinion. I think the only way the film side ever sees any more success is if you hand it over to Dave Filoni and John
Jon
Favreau
Favreau.
and
Yep.
let them look. If you look at what they've done now, Kathleen Kennedy's name is on the TV side, but they're running it all. They've got that
Oh
ship.
yeah.
They're in control. If you hand over just Star Wars to them, everything works. You're fine. Lucas loves them. Lucas is on set with them all the time. He clearly approves of what they're doing. So that's not true with the other ones. He refused to go to a couple of sets of the other ones. So that should just tell you everything you need to know. Now this one I'm not sure of. I get keep trying with Star Wars because it's a huge IP. Everybody knows it. Everybody most of the time loves it. This next one, sometimes it's time to put something away. Like Fast and Furious, right? Should have been put away a long time. This one, also, in my opinion, should just be put away. We don't need another one, but apparently we're getting one. Ice Age 6. 6 is apparently in the works with Ray Romano, John Leguizamo, Dennis Leary, and Queen Latifah all apparently set to return. Why? Why?
Yeah.
We don't need 6 ice ages. We didn't have that many ice ages in real. We don't need 6. Move on. Move on.
Exactly.
You've got so
I think
many.
they're trying to compete with like Illumination and Despicable Me, because Despicable Me is going to keep going, and I just don't see that being successful. Ice Age has had, I feel like, decent gaps in between all of their films, so it's like you're basically reintroducing the characters and the concept to new kids every single time. So that I don't think it's smart.
Yeah, and I mean, you've got so many other properties if you want to do more animation. Just in my
Yeah.
opinion, give me another Incredibles movie. Give me like
Which
I
they,
just
which they are, yeah.
yeah, but I just
More Big
sometimes
Hero 6. That seems like such a cult one
yes.
that, like, you only had the first one.
Yeah,
Like,
but instead they're apparently developing a live action Big Hero
yeah.
6, which, okay, but you can do both. They're doing a live
Yeah.
action Moana and an animated Moana. I
At the
mean,
same time.
just bring it. All right, let's jump over to the bunny. We're going to kind of combine the bunny and the eye because, and I'm sure by next week we'll be talking about the mouse too because they're going to be releasing their third quarter. But things are great on the streaming side. They're all starting to come into profitability and maintain profitability, but it's at the expense of the film side, which we do not want to see. That is the last thing we want if you're a movie fan. But here we go. Warner Brothers Discovery stock rose to its highest level in nearly 9 months. Now, don't get excited, guys. That means it got up to $9.37. Hold on. Let's see if it's even at that right now. It's not. It's at $9.18. Spent most of the day at $8 today. So don't get too excited. And it is still well below its 52-week high, which was only $12.70. Awful. But it was the best quarterly gain ever for Max, which was driven almost entirely by, get this, international rollouts. Now, global subscribers did increase 7.2 million in the period to reach 110.5 million. Now, in the US and Canada, streaming subscribers were pretty much flat year over year with about 52.6 million. Here's where it runs into trouble, though. Warner Brothers Film Studio suffered a drop in quarter three, down 17% year over year, and the earnings overall for the studio down 58%. Zaslav's explanation is, we need more consistency. Yeah, you're the one greenlighting shit and then killing it. You're the one that says we're going to put it in theaters and then drop it on Max. You're the one that says we're going to drop it on Max and then shelve it all together. The only inconsistency is you, Dave. You're the problem. I mean, and let's be honest about it. The only reason the streamer is working, the only reason Max is seeing success is because you're dropping shit like fucking Penguin, which is massive. It's number one in the ratings for 7 straight weeks since it debuted. And I'm just going to make a prediction. After this Sunday, their ratings are going to drop because it's the finale. And what are you going to plug in that hole? You're going to need something because, I mean, but they've had a couple of big hits that have hit on the streamer. Right?
Yeah.
So I think that, and when we jump to Paramount here, because I know you're going to follow up, it's kind of the same thing. Well, let's do that. Why don't you jump to Paramount, and then we'll discuss kind of like where we think the issue is.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I just want to list a couple movies for the last 5 years from Warner Brothers because, yeah, it's crazy. The Little Things that came out in pandemic: Aquaman, The Lost Kingdom, Black Adam, Tenet, Secrets of Dumbledore, Blue Beetle, The Batman, Birds of Prey, Shazam, Wonka, Joker, both Jokers the last 5 years, The Flash, The Color Purple, Barbie, Dune Part 2, Judas and the Black Messiah. Those are just a couple that I wanted to list, just so that you kind of have a idea in mind of what their theatrical release schedule has looked like for the past couple years. And now heading over to
Well, I was just going to say that list in general is a great example of the inconsistencies in that list. Like, exactly. One was a massive hit, one was a massive dump. One was a massive hit, one was a massive dump.
Saying.
So it's just, and they banked on a massive hit that didn't work because Joker was a massive hit, Joker 2 a massive dud. So
exactly. But Paramount's direct-to-consumer operations saw ad revenue rise about 18%, while subscription revenue increased about 7% due to robust activity in quarter three at Paramount Plus. As of the end of September, Paramount Plus had 72 million subscribers, following the pickup of 3.5 million in that specific quarter. However, revenue at Paramount's film businesses fell 34% to 590 million, with theatrical revenue falling off by about 71%. Now let's do the same thing. Let's do the same thing with that we just did with Warner Brothers with Paramount, because other than like freaking Quiet Place, Transformers, Rise of the Beast, Dungeons and Dragons, Indiana Jones. I guess that was no, that was obviously Disney. That's
Yeah,
wrong.
yeah.
The Lost City. You had, of course, 80 for Brady, the Scream franchise, and
Top
Top
Gun
Gun
Maverick,
Maverick,
yeah.
Smile. Out of this list, I see Top Gun Maverick, Smile, the Mission Impossible franchise, and A Quiet Place. Other than that, everything else is high budgeted films that don't do very well because Sonic, they're trying to stay positive about the Sonic franchise. They're about to make another one, third one in the franchise, but even those are received lukewarmly. So I don't get it, man. They're not producing good, valuable content. And you know what I'm missing from both of these lists? Rom-coms. Rom-coms are cheap, easy to make, and there is a big gap in the entertainment industry right now for romantic comedies that is being filled by Netflix and streaming that is specifically just straight to streaming.
Yeah.
So I think we need to see more theatrical releases of rom-coms with different ideas, because that's the biggest thing
Yeah.
too. We need new ideas.
Off the top of my head, Amazon, The Idea of You with Anne Hathaway, massive hit. Massive hit. It should have been theatrically released. It should have been. It would have been massive in the theaters. The problem here is that all of the great content is on streamers. People are just staying home and watching streamers because it's where better content is. And we should say both Warner Brothers and Paramount, Warner Brothers specifically because they own a lot of cable still. You know, Cartoon Network, that division also dropped massively. Regular linear television is dying because people are flocking to streamers to watch when they want, where they want, how they want. So while that's great and the streamers are booming, it's at the expense of going to the theater. You've got to find a way to balance content so that it's great in theaters and great in... And I'm going to apologize for calling it content. I saw somebody recently just get really upset that people refer to it as content. He says it's art. It's hard work. This is people putting stuff into it. It's not content. It's what we do. Agreed. But my point being is, and then if you look at these, right, if you take away Matt Reeves and James Gunn, is Max successful? If you that's a question. This is a certainty. If you take away Taylor Sheridan from Paramount Plus, it's a fucking disaster. It'll go down to zero because it should just be called Taylor Sheridan Plus. Because every single thing on there, with the exception of some CBS shows, right? Because Tracker's doing really well, Matlock's doing really well, Survivor's doing really well in next day watches on Paramount Plus. But the majority of the shows on Paramount Plus are Taylor Sheridan. All of them. Tulsa King, Lioness, 1923, 1883, Yellowstone coming back this Sunday. He's got Landman coming, the new oil one with Billy Bob Thornton. I mean, if it's Mayor of Kingstown, if it's a show on Paramount Plus, it's Taylor Sheridan. And if you lose that guy, pay attention, Paramount, because if you lose that guy, don't make the mistake that Zaslav did running off Christopher Nolan. If you lose Taylor Sheridan, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Just lock that man down because you're in trouble if not.
I went over to ParamountMovies.com, and the movies that they are promoting right now, you'll lose interest very quick because we have Transformers 1 as the first screen, we have A Quiet Place Day 1 as second, and then Depravedi, no idea what that is. The Silent Hour, no idea what that is. Spin the Bottle, no idea what that is. Apartment 7A, no idea what that is. Casino in Ishna, no idea what that is. Dude from Prison Break is in that. Hereafter, and Rob Peace and Lady Scorpions. Like, this is what I'm talking about. You're making stuff that you're not promoting at all.
Yeah,
like,
and
I have no idea what these films are.
I'm kind of shocked. I'm old as dirt, so I know what Apartment 7A is. That's the prequel to Rosemary's Baby. And but they didn't even really market that. They had a huge opportunity to market that film because Rosemary's Baby was a massive success for them, and has longevity. I mean, that's an old movie with like way back in the day, 60s, but it's a massive hit. They could have had opportunity there to market that thing, and like you said, probably nobody even knew it existed. So that's just crazy to me.
It is, man.
Now, Universal, let's jump over to Universal. We haven't seen their Q3 numbers yet, but they did do one smart move over the past year or two, and that was snag away Nolan from Warner Brothers when Zaslav fucked up, and it has paid off huge for them. Yeah. He decided to stay home with them with his next movie, and as we told you guys, that next movie, while we still don't know any idea of what it's about, we do know it has Matt Damon and Tom Holland, and now it also has Zendaya and Anne Hathaway. Massive hit. You don't even have to guess. We don't care what the plot is at this point. Zendaya, Anne Hathaway, Matt Damon, Tom Holland. You get and that's a love fest because Anne Hathaway, of course, Interstellar and The Dark Knight for Nolan. Zendaya has worked with Tom Holland in the Spider-Man movie, so you're going to have the chemistry there. Ooh, maybe they're not nice to each other in this movie. That would be interesting, right? But regardless, I mean, come on. That cast, and can't guarantee it, but we're fairly certain because we know he does them all. It's probably our friend John Papsadera pulling this stellar cast together again because he's Nolan's guy. And, man, that's doing it right. Universal's like, we're not in trouble in our film division.
Yeah, seriously. And I mean, I think we should continue every time we have a story about this particular film that we don't know anything about yet. We should keep trying to throw out ideas because we now know, 4 of these huge A-list casters in this freaking film. And so, I'm thinking something surrounding an office. They're going to be in an office somewhere, maybe doing like a heist type thing. That's the vibe that I'm getting from these cast members.
Competing couples, maybe?
Competing couples,
like
maybe.
In some sort of a thing,
do you think it could be like a Mr. and Mrs. Smith, but an old version and a new version? Like maybe a young couple and an old couple, and I don't know. Every time the new cast comes out for this film, like I said, I'm just trying to throw out ideas of what this film could be, and I'm super excited to be wrong.
So think about this, right? You look at that cast and you think, yeah, some sort of an action movie, right? Some sort of a drama, some sort of a suspense. How awesome would it be? And I've said this the past couple times. Yeah. This would be an amazing comedy. These 4 would kill it in a comedy. They've all done little comedic things outside of, these 4 in a comedy would be fucking epic. Please let this be his first comedy, because this would be killer if this is it. So that's my prediction. Let this be a comedy. Fuck, that would be so good. Maybe they're wife swapping, or maybe, I don't know, but something crazy, comedic, romantic mishap. I think, oh my God, it would be so good.
It would definitely be interesting. I completely
It would
agree.
be different.
It would be different. It'd be very
Nolan
different.
does comedy.
Gosh. Well, we're going over to Amazon MGM now, and of course, they have won the bidding war for Mattel's animated feature of Bob the Builder, which had Netflix, DreamWorks Animation, and other vying for the project. Now, people are saying that Jennifer Lopez and Anthony Ramos have been cast in this thing. I think we have a confirmation on that.
Producing. I know for sure they're both producing. I think Anthony Ramos is still in negotiations to star, but they're both producing. Yeah.
We had this conversation in class because I've been talking about how I've been going back to school. Bob the Builder is actually British. We believe it's a British show, so we were like, what? We are super confused by that, so we wanted to just throw that out there.
Look, I'm not gonna lie, your wife, my daughter, loved this fucking show. Loved it. Had all of the vehicles, had Bob, would sing the song relentlessly. Bob the Builder, can we fix this? Bob the Builder, yes we can.
Yes we can.
And I was to the point of, so, great, it's a cute kid show. Fantastic. Do we need it as a live action movie?
We really don't.
Or even an animated feature film with like I feel like it's probably going to be like CGI type animation.
Yeah. I know, right? And what's the plot gonna be? What is
he's
the
gonna
plot?
fix shit? Duh.
Or does the building that he's working on collapse? And while it's collapsing, his love interest is in there, so Bob has to heroically run in there and save his love interest, kind of like Skyscraper with Dwayne The Rock Johnson holding on to his love interest, trying to pull her back up.
Yeah.
I should have fixed this better. I'm sorry. It's so goofy.
This is one we don't. I just complimented Amazon on its success the idea of you. Well, yeah. What's the idea of this, Amazon? Because I'm not sure that stick with more romantic comedies. That's all I'm saying. Or Reacher. Give me a Reacher film with Alan Richardson and not Tom Cruise. Give me that before you give me Bob the Builder. That's all I'm saying. That's
it, man. That's it. But Amazon seems to be the place for video game adaptations to come to life as far as live action. A Mass Effect TV series is officially in development at Amazon MGM Studios. Now, we don't know exact plot details, and of course, they're being kept way under wraps. But Daniel Casey is set to write and executive produce this adaptation, so we shall see. Of course, the Fallout series on Amazon MGM Studios on Amazon Prime is very successful. People love it. And it's obvious. We've said this before at our 2024 predictions video on YouTube. Be sure to watch that video because some of this stuff is actually happening because we know what we're talking about. More video game adaptations are going to be coming at you. They're coming at us in a slower pace than I thought they would.
Yeah.
I will give it that, but they're still coming. They're still coming. I mean, you see this, you see The Last of Us, especially when Last of Us Season 2 comes back, and I'm sure will be massively successful and popular again. I think we're going to get more greenlit again. I do like the slow pace that we're getting it, though. I will say that. Other than, was it Paramount Plus? Or no, was it Paramount that greenlit the Borderlands movie? It was one of the studios that greenlit the Borderlands movie.
I think it was Paramount. I think so. Yeah, no, that was, which is maybe why they're taking their time. They're methodically planning which ones will hit, which ones will not. Speaking of Fallout, I saw Macaulay Culkin's coming for season 2. They cast Macaulay Culkin in it, so a whole new generation that maybe weren't fans of the game or even knew anything about it will flock to it now. So that'll be really cool. We'll see. We'll see how that plays out. That's just another example of building on your streamers, though, instead of worrying about theatricals. So we'll see what that does. But interesting, as always, interesting news. And I can't wait to see the Q3 results for the mouse and see where that's headed. We know D23 also happening, guys. People are arriving in the ground down there, and I'm sure we'll be talking all about that next week.
Oh, for sure, man. For freaking sure. But now it is time for Johnny Howard to come on the show. Man, oh man, we're super excited to talk about his film Happy Ending. Man, oh man, this is a way deeper concept than what you would think it is. Of course, as men, we have perverted minds, so we're like, oh, happy ending, ho ho ho. But no, this is a very thought out, meticulous process that they put into creating this film, and I think it's honestly beautiful. I love what he talks about during this whole entire interview, and like I said at the very beginning, just such a humble, intelligent guy that just deserves all the work in the world, man.
Oh, without doubt. And yeah, because they're storytellers. Happy ending is exactly what it implies. Happy ending. But there's a story behind why this particular woman is working in this industry doing that. And there's what's the backstory? What's her life like? What's her family life like? Why is she in the need of having to provide this type of a service in an industry that's dangerous? And there's a story there. There's storytellers, which made me extremely excited when he started talking about that. And yeah, just everything about this interview, like we kind of teased at the top of the show, their relationship, how they approach the work, how they balance real life and work life, and it just everything about this is the way you're supposed to do it, guys and gals. And so if you listen to this interview, you're going to get a lot of really solid advice, not just on how to be in the industry, but how to not be in the industry also. It's just solid, man.
Completely agree. Well, here he is.
Johnny Howard, welcome inside the Crazy Ant Farm, man. How are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you, Dustin. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, absolutely, man. We are so pumped to talk to you. We were going over everything. We're fans of you. We watch a ton of the stuff that you've been in, and then we're looking over the resume and seeing all the stuff we haven't watched, and we're like, oh my gosh, this guy is killing it. Actually, one of our interns is a huge fan of yours. They're going to be thrilled that we're talking to you. Oh yeah, they're responsible for getting you booked. I'm just going to say it. They're like, hey, have you guys thought about it? And we're like, whoa, all right, cool. So
you should give this person a pay rise.
Yeah, exactly.
They've got great taste. They've got great taste.
I love that. So listen, man, how we normally start this whole thing off, and like I said, just looking at the resume, I gotta know, is it something you always knew that this was what you wanted to do? Did you kind of fall into it accidentally and then decide this is what I love and I want to pursue it? Or how did it all start, man?
No, this all started when I was a little boy. So I grew up in the north of England. Lancashire is the name of the county.
Oh, I didn't know this. I didn't recognize the accent. No.
You have to excuse me. I'm in New Mexico right now, and the weather's just changed, and it's I've got the allergies quite bad. But I did a little play in primary school. So primary school for you Americans is 4 years old up to 10 years old.
Yeah, like elementary school. Yeah.
Like elementary school, exactly. And I did a little play in my little village, and I loved the whole process of it. I loved the attention that I got. I got to play this very comedic role where I had this audience participation bit, and I had an absolute ball. I remember one night, I remember that, we had to bring on like a pretend fish, and I had to throw it into the audience. And I was having such a great time that I thought, wouldn't it be great if I go to the fishmongers? I'm like 10 years old, and I get a real fish and throw a real fish into the audience. And I didn't tell anyone this, and I did it. And I threw this real dead fish into the audience. And thankfully, my little buddy caught it. And just that whole experience just made me think like, wow, I love this. And, I come from a little village where, my brother's a carpenter, my sister's a teacher, my friends are electricians and dig ditches and painters, decorators, electricians. And doing this acting, my mum was a model. She wasn't like a top model, like, supermodel, catwalk modeling. She was like back of cereal boxes modeling. And
Yeah.
And so me and my brother and my sister, we would do little kids modeling. And it was a way for me to experience life outside of my village and have this insight into another world that could be possible for me. And it all started from there, really, So I never studied acting at high school or in school. I would go to an acting class once a week when I was a teenager. And then the modeling agency that my mum was with and that we were with as like family models, like child models, they had an acting side. And I think as puberty kicked in and the pimples started, like the modeling dried up. And I was like, how else can I miss time off school and not get into trouble? It's like, well, actually, they do the acting as well. So I started doing commercials, and at the time they were called corporate videos, which it's almost like business commercials.
Yeah.
And it kind of took off from there. And then I booked my first sort of serious dramatic role on a TV series when I was like 14 or 15. And the whole time I'm at school and I'm studying and I'm getting to take time off school. Also, I went to an all boys school, so meeting girls was pretty hard. And actually, like, you go to an acting class and I'm acting with other girls, like, and I can do kissing scenes. This is amazing. So that's kind of how it started. And then I worked, and again, I never took acting, never studied it at school. And then I left college I left school when I was 18, studied English literature and philosophy and economics. And I tried to get into drama school when I was 18, 19, and I didn't get in. And then, unfortunately, my dad died very tragically, very out of the blue. And the acting went on hold for a little second. Mm-hmm. And then from that moment, I started laboring on building sites and getting in trouble with some older boys and girls, and had some moments that I'm not particularly proud of, and spent a couple of nights in jail now and again. And all this was, as I'm like 18, 19 years old. And then out of the blue, I auditioned for a play when I was 20 years old. And my dad had only been gone, less than a year. And I got to go on a national tour in the UK about, it's called Beautiful Thing. It's a beautiful play by a great writer called Jonathan Harvey about two young boys, like teenage boys that fall in love. And we went on this national tour, and getting to step into this boy's shoes every night and forget about myself and it kind of brought me back to what I really like doing, which was acting. And then from there, I did a TV series that brought me down to London. So I left home when I was 18, did a TV series for 2 years. Then I was like 21 years old, and the TV series finished. And I started recognizing that I was going to auditions and not really knowing what I was doing, and I'd meet other boys who were 21 in the audition room, and they all knew each other, and they could all talk about this craft, and they all knew playwrights, and talking of Chekhov and Shakespeare, and I was just completely out of my depth, and so I decided then at 22, I decided, you know what, I need training. I need to learn more about what I'm doing here. I have good instincts. That's all I've relied on. How would I react in this situation?
Right.
Under these circumstances, which is still, the basis of my process now. But I needed to go to drama school to be put in an environment where different processes, different techniques were being thrown at me. And so I auditioned for drama school, and I was very fortunate. I got a scholarship. And I went to LAMDA, the London Academy of Music and Dramatic Art, very good drama school. And I studied there for 3 years. Met my wife there. She was doing a semester course, and I met my wife there. And yeah, so in a nutshell, that is me from falling in love with acting to going to drama school. And then I left drama school at 20. I went late to drama school. I was 23 when I started. I came out when I was 26, and then came out at 26. And then that's really when things started taking off. I went to a good drama school. I was fortunate enough to get a good agent when I left. And then suddenly the auditions weren't just northern working class English lads. It was suddenly auditioning for American roles on big movies. And, and then that's kind of the springboard of chapter 2 of my acting career.
Wow.
Oh,
in a nutshell.
And you can breathe now. Take a drink. Take a drink. Yes, I love it. I love it though, because you go from, it's really life. What you're explaining is your life, and you go from this confidence of throwing a real dead fish out into the audience, and then all the way up to getting to drama school, where you have some people who are more trained than you, who have more experience than you, and you have to deal with that, and how you have to overcome your insecurities, and how you can find a place to fit in. And so mental health is a big thing for us, and especially when we're trying to do something we love, when we're trying to chase the dream, it's something that, mental health can either get in the way or push you forward. So throughout your journey of life, from that wee lad to where you are now, how has your mental health played a role in your life? Has it held you back in ways? Has it pushed you forward in some ways?
Wow, really good question, Logan. Mental health is huge for me. I struggle with mental health for sure. It is definitely a driving force. I suffer from anxiety, bipolar, been diagnosed with bipolar, and circumstances of my father's death, PTSD, and but I never knew any of this in my 20s. This is all happened in my 30s.
Right.
Yeah.
And really, the catalyst of it all was rejection. It was just constant rejection. I always say that acting has broken my heart more times than any girl ever has.
Right.
And there was a period, especially when I first moved to LA, so I went to drama school, and the anxiety was all quelled because, oh, I'm at drama school, you know, I'm busy every day, you know, it's like the devil makes work for idle hands. And absolutely that's the case for me. You know, I'm sure this is a lot true for a lot of actors. When we're working, life is great, nothing to worry about. But the job of acting is not the acting. The job of the actor is how do you survive in between the jobs? And sometimes that's been years for me. You know, like COVID and strikes and whatever else. Like these last 4 or 5 years for me have been the hardest in my career.
Yeah.
Work has really been difficult, and it's not for want or trying, or it's not for lack of opportunities. It's for whatever reason the universe has not been giving me, you know, the jobs, and that's really forced me to look at my life and look at myself. And the problem for actors and for any creatives is that we become our identity becomes married to what we do for a living.
Yep.
And unfortunately, you know, the pitfalls of that is like, I'm only validated if I'm successful. I'm only validated. I'm only, my self-worth, unfortunately, was built in many years for my success, you know, and booking a job. And then that all gets taken away from me. And then it's like, okay, who am I really? And all this was happening at the same time that my wife got pregnant, and I had to deal with me becoming a father while finding out about my own father. And, you know, and I've struggled with addiction and drugs and alcohol, and acting is all kind of mixed up in the same thing. You know, I've been sober now for 3 or 4 years, and I realized that acting is the drug, like, you know, like all my other fun drugs that I used to enjoy taking.
Yeah.
And it's something that makes me feel good, right? It's something from the outside that's going to make me feel good. So mental health and my acting and my life, they're all intertwined together.
Oh, most definitely. Before Dustin hops in there, first of all, I want to say congratulations on your 3 years of sobriety.
Yeah.
We are also big mental health advocates. We have another podcast called Everything's Okay, where we talk about mental health and different subjects in mental health and just whatever's going on in our life. We call it our biweekly therapy session. And just from our 20-minute conversation, because we were talking a little bit before we hopped on the recording, you're a great person. You're so genuine and so humble and so nice. And I'm just fortunate enough just to have this conversation with you. So I really appreciate it. You know more than anyone else, and how Dustin and I do as well. This industry, you find a lot of fake people, you find some genuine people, and then you find just complete assholes. And you are a very genuine person. And I just wanted to say that.
Okay. So, and this is hilarious because, and this is just how much time we actually spend together, because the first thing that was about to come out of my mouth was commending you on overcoming your addiction. And we think so much alike, it's not even funny. But listen, so much to unpack there, because a lot of everything that you just said is so critically important, I think, to people trying to get into this industry. One, it very much is built on, and we like to call it selection, not rejection. And I think that goes towards the mental health, to get into the right mindset, right? You're not being rejected at this point. You just weren't selected. It's not that you weren't good enough. It's not that you didn't do the job the way you were supposed to. It's just at this particular time, they wanted somebody else. And, you know, I think it's very important for anybody trying to break into the industry to have that mindset, because you're right. When you view it as rejection, that can start to play on you really heavily, really quickly. But if you go into it as auditioning is the job, getting the work is just the perk, right? That the job is, and it's about selection, not rejection. It's a whole different mindset. Also, I love that how you said, it's separating the two, because that's the other pitfall, is where it becomes how you get validated. It becomes whether you view yourself as a successful human being or not, is whether you're getting work. And I feel like, and we've talked to guest after guest after guest who, after periods of time, figure this out. I have to have that separation. I have a life and I'm an actor. And there is a difference. And I don't need to be validated by getting work to be successful here. And if I figure that out, then I'm not going to mess this up here by doing this. Because I feel like so many people don't figure it out, and then this messes up because they forget that it's a whole different thing, right? This is no different from you getting up and going to do carpentry on a building. You come home to the family, and that's your family, and that's your life. Well, so is acting. You're just going and spending time on a set and doing your job, but you're still coming home to the family. And as long as you keep that mindset, you're good, right?
100%.
So I love that you shared that, because not enough people get it. I feel like it's so critically important to understand, especially when, like you said, the universe is just at play and there are things that are not in your control. The strikes happen or COVID happen, and there's going to be a stretch where you're not going to get anything. And if you don't have that life and this is it, you're in big trouble. So you got to kind of try to figure that out. So thank you for sharing that, because I think it's just so critically important, and for your generosity and braveness in doing that. Because not a lot of people open up like that, especially men. You know, we get told you can't be emotional. You got to be this. You got to, especially now you're a father, right? And I too lost my dad at a very young age unexpectedly, and so I understand, and I know how that plays into, as an adult, what you do. And I was terrified to become a father because I was like, all I have is my mom. I don't even know if I know how to be a father. I didn't have that. So kudos to you for that too. Yeah, it's amazing, man. Yeah, I echo what Logan said. You are a genuinely good human being, man.
That's really nice. Thank you. And, there is what you said about the carpentry thing, right? You're a carpenter. You go to work. You work on wood. You do something. You build a door. You build a house, cabinet, and you come home. The only difference is that, I'm good at it now. I've really learned from it now. But there was a period of time where, if you're a carpenter, people aren't going to. When you say, "Oh, I'm a carpenter," people are going to say, "Oh, what did you build today?"
Yeah.
As an actor, there was a period of time where I dreaded the question. I meet someone, I get talking, and they're like, "Oh, what do you do for a living?" I used to dread it because I'd say, "Oh, I'm an actor," and you could see the face look like, "Oh, so you do a lot of theater," and it's like the amount of times that because I was putting all of my self-worth in someone else's validation.
That's right.
I would go through my resume, waiting for them to have seen me in one of these things, and then I feel okay because this person now understands that I'm successful. And it's like, John, I had to it's like, Johnny, it's okay. People are just interested when you say you're an actor. So it took me a long time to again just accept that, that I am happy in myself, I have a wonderful life. I have I'm healthy. I have a healthy daughter, I have a healthy wife. I think she's happy, pretty confident she's happy, I have a really good life, and it's just taken me a long time to accept that, the drug, the alcohol, the girl, the hot girlfriend, the great job, that's always external ways for me to feel good about myself. And the real challenge, and it's a daily thing, is do I just feel okay?
Yes.
With my,
Yes, most definitely. It's an amazing thing. And it's all about this journey that we call life. We're trying to continue putting one foot in front of the other, just trying to make sure today is better than yesterday. And sometimes that can be difficult, but it's all a learning process, because we never get a handbook with this thing that we call life. I mean, we're all put into unpredictable circumstances that that you have to act very swiftly on. And, it's all about continuing moving forward. But I would like to move forward on something very interesting. And I'm interested to talk about it because I haven't been able to find it yet. And is your recent short film called Happy Ending. I'm really curious about this thing because just from the poster, it looks very good.
And the name.
And so and the name. So I would like you to talk a little bit more about it and tell people where they can find it so I can finally watch it.
Well, you guys were just telling us then, right, that you wanted to, during COVID, you guys wanted to start writing your own thing. You wanted to start to be, be in control of everything. And
yes,
and me and my wife had the same premonition. We had a conversation during the pandemic, and we were like, my wife, she's very successful. She's doing very good. Her name's Elodie Young, amazing, talented, successful actress. And we were saying, how many times have we done a job where we hit a home run on on what we call the four bases. So the one is like, is it a good paycheck? Are we working with the director that we want to work with? Is it a good script? Is the part good? And are we working with the other actors that we really want to work with? You know, and to get all of those five things at the same time, never happened for either of us. I got a bunch of ideas, and you know, I read so many scripts, and so does Elodie, and a lot of them are great, but some of them aren't. And we're like, wow, someone's paying to get this made. And so we wanted to start creating our own content. So we created our production company. It's called Ugly Duckling Productions. And Happy Ending is the first, is the first film. Amazingly, no one's taken that name. I can't believe that.
I know, right?
Productions. And we want to, you know, we want to write our own stories. And Happy Ending was an experiment, really, of like, do we enjoy creating together? Do we enjoy the process of making a film? And we both had the best creative, artistic experience of our lives, making a little short film, you know?
Yes.
And we really enjoyed it. And so the premise of Happy Ending, originally we wanted to do a series of short films where we look at the underbelly of society that people really turned a blind eye to. So, you know, your, Guatemalan gardener, your Mexican dishwasher, your Southeast Asian masseuse, you know. And we really wanted each character to kind of overlap in some shape or form. Then we realized that actually even making a short film is fucking expensive.
Yeah.
No easy feat just to like raise some money. So we're like, okay, maybe we're not going to be able to do 10 short films. So we decided on Happy Ending because Elodie is half Cambodian. Her father's Cambodian. I now, from meeting her father and knowing what he's been through, escaping the genocide and starting a new life for himself as a refugee in France, like I have such a pull and a love and a heart towards Cambodia, and we wanted to tell. We wanted to shine a light of what's going on in these massage parlors because I, from personal experience, I love a massage. I love a massage, but the amount of times I've been to a massage, not in America, not just America, I'm talking like in Europe, in England, and the amount of times that I go into what I think is a genuine massage parlor and I get offered this service. And at one point I started asking the ladies questions of like, why are you offering me this, you know? And they're not all sex trafficked women in the sense that they have had their passports stolen from them, that they've been like taken from their country. No, some of this is business, you know, and it's like they will go to these little villages in Thailand, in Cambodia, in Vietnam, and they will say, look, hey, you give us this money, we'll take you to this country, we'll set you up with a job and we'll give you this wage. Wow. And they do that. And so I would talk to different women that I would have these massages from in different countries over a few years. And they all kind of had the same story. They're from a little village and they're sending money back home to support their kids.
Yep.
The father and the husband is kind of out of the equation. And the reason they have to offer this service is because they get their wage is so minimal. By the time they find a place to live in whatever city they're sent to, they just don't have any money. So they offer this service to make a tip. And so we wanted to tell a story about that, especially because at the time it was like the Atlanta shootings. The crazy guy went in and, you know, shot a bunch of women who were working in these in these parlors. And then originally we wrote it, and it was like and we got great notes. We got like great notes off a great Oscar award-winning director, and he said, "Look, it's truthful, it's real, it's sad." But it doesn't go anywhere. And it was a really good note because we realized like, actually we're making a document. It's almost like a documentary here, you know, even in a short film, we still got to tell a story. We still got to make an arc. Right. And we didn't want to just have our lead character being Cambodian for the sake of shining a light on representation of like, you know, it's like, no, we want to tell a story with someone from a minority background. Okay. And also we want to shine a light of what's going on in these places.
That's right.
And so Happy Ending became this little short film where this Cambodian girl comes to America trying to support her family back home. She's carrying a tragic secret. And, you know, she realizes that in order to help her family back home, she has to give these happy endings. And in the movie, you know, I won't give it away, but, you know, she she gets a little happy ending of her own by the end of it, you know?
Nice.
Ooh, a little plot
I
twist.
just okay there. Wow, there's so much to unpack there.
Yeah.
Everything there is brilliant. I will say, let me start with this because, like Logan said, this is a podcast for up and comers and people try. I recently had that same conversation where I went in. It was actually when we were pitching our series, and I was had my chance in front of, and several of them outside of that, I heard them say this exact thing that you just said to other people that were pitching other projects. That's a great story. We love everything about it. You've got this, this, this. It's just not a pill we want to feed to the public. And I'm just like, wow. So, you know, you're not alone in having that told to you. It's just like, hey, everything about that's great. We just don't have a place for it. We don't know how to sell that. Have you tried a documentary? The problem with that is if I wanted to tell a documentary, I would make a documentary. I want to do a film, right? So I want to tell this. And then that leads me into, I love that you guys proceeded forward and did it because Logan and I talk about this all the time. We're creatives and we're artists and we like to tell stories, right? We're storytellers. But if we can create art that starts conversations and informs and educates people, then that's a win-win all the way around. Because there's a lot of stuff that people just don't sit down and feel comfortable talking about. But if they watch a movie and they connect and they're relatable to the characters and that story that's going, and they talk, it works into that conversation. And all of a sudden they are talking about that topic because this is real life and real people. And whether they've been through it or they know somebody that's been through it, that opens the door for that conversation. And I feel like as artists and creatives, if we can do that with what we put out there in the world, it's a win-win. Entertain and inform? What? I mean, that's the whole goal, right? So I love that you guys did that and made a project. And I like how you approached it, even though you didn't do the whole, 10 of them and kind of thing. And yeah, by the way, we're in pre-production right now. Like I said, we're going to shoot in December. We know it's expensive. But I love that it's real. You're like, no, we want to focus on real people, the everyday people, the dishwasher, the such and such that nobody talks about, right? Because I feel like the most successful art and the most successful films and television that connect with people are about real people. Somebody that you can identify with. Like, and I feel like too often we put art out there, not knocking it, there's a place for all these things, but where you just don't feel connected to it. There's no relatability to it. It's a wham bam, that was exciting, but now I'm going to go home and forget all about it. I like the stories that I go home and I can't stop telling people about it. You got to see this, you got to see that. Oh my gosh, I felt this, I felt that. And I feel like that's what you guys created there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we hope so. We're very privileged, right, that we get to do this for a living. For years, I had a problem. People are like, why did you get into acting? And my answer would always be, well, it's better than going down the coal mine. It was like a very, working class, self-deprecating comment. And it's taken me years to realize, the power of this medium. And the power of this medium is absolutely, like if I can share my deepest, darkest secrets through a character, 9 times out of 10, that secret is universal, and that's what that's the link of humanity. And like, if someone's going to see that and be like, I know that feeling, whether it's a comedy, whether it's a drama, whether I know that feeling, right? And like, that's the power of what we get to do. That's the privilege of this medium,
Absolutely.
Oh, yes, most definitely. And we're kind of in the same boat as far as topic of conversation, I guess you could say, as far as the film genre, because our first film was a school shooter film. And, in the States, I mean, school shootings happen all the freaking time. So by the time we finished it up, got it in post, started submitting it to film festivals, nobody wanted to touch it because it was such a hot button issue, which is understandable. But then that plays into my mental health, and I'm like, well, what if it's not good? What if it's not this? What if it's not that? But then I go back and watch it, and I'm like, no, this is a good film. It's just a hot button issue. So it's that counterbalance of, trying to put out something creative, but also like, you don't want to be held back because of things either. So it's very interesting. But do I regret making it? Do I regret putting it out? No, not at all. But it's unfortunate that society is the way it is, to where like that film can't get as seen as much as I think it should. So I did you have fear of that when you were making this film as well?
I mean, no, because when we made this film, we teamed up with some great producers, indie pop records that have done a bunch of short films,
Yeah.
and we also managed to team up with David Chu, who's got Anti-Archive Productions in Cambodia, like Cannes
Yep.
Award-winning director. But we made the film because we wanted to make a film. The idea of festivals and all that was not something we were thinking of. But then when it got to the point of like, okay, guys, now we're going to submit to festivals, then actually it began. It's like it was even more precious than like auditioning as an actor and not being selected. As you say, Dustin, it's like it's even more personal because actually no, I wrote this and my wife directed this. But you know, like but that's the great. You know, you have to keep submitting because maybe this year is something people don't want to touch. You submit again next year. It's not about, and you know, and really like maybe it's just a little too close with what's going on right now. But at some point, you know, people need to see films like that. You know, especially around the rest of the world as well. You know, like have you submitted to festivals outside of America? Because I'm sure you know European festivals and British film festivals, they're going to want to see that because they. You know, like I have a 6-year-old and we live in America and she was born in America. And definitely the one major factor for me considering returning to the UK is her being in high school. And the gun, you know, and the possibility of, you know, gun shooting, mass shooting. So I would say like it's so important that you have to keep submitting. You have to keep submitting. It's expensive.
Yeah.
Even submitting to the festivals is almost as expensive. It's sometimes more expensive than making the film. It's just crazy. But well, so I have to ask because you said Aluddy directed and you wrote it. Any plans to be on camera together in something or co-direct something, or what's the process of continuing to work together? Where's that at?
We were really good as me writing and Elodie directing.
Okay.
I didn't write the film to be in it, but we were shooting. It was like, I'm definitely going to be cheaper than hiring an actor because I'm not going to charge myself a fee. So
Right, exactly.
I wrote the thing as well. So I played a pivotal character towards the end of the film. And there was one moment where I was on set and I still had my writer's hat on and we rehearsed the scene and I kind of made a suggestion and Elodie shut me down very quickly and said, Johnny, you're not the writer now, you're the actor. So unless you have a question from an acting perspective, like shut up.
Yeah. And she does have a black belt. So you better just like, nope, I'm done. I'm done.
She did.
I love, but you know what though, to collaborate like that, like we're family. And so we have contention every now and then as well, but to know that, you know, and respect that and understand that you're not always going to be on the same page. And that's huge because to be able to do what we do is a gift and a blessing anyway. To get to do it when we do it with family and people that we love, even more of a blessing. So to understand that you are going to have some points where you disagree on things or whatever, and you're able to understand that and work through that, that's a beautiful thing because you don't want anything to mess up what you got, right? Especially something so stupid about, I don't want this or that. It's like, whatever, man. What's the best and move forward, right? So I love that, man.
No, exactly. Making the film was easier than doing a self-tape with her for sure. Self-taping with your spouse it's like the notes seem super personal, you know, like when she gives me and maybe it's because she's French, but there's a directness to the way that she gives me a note, whereas I feel like I'm a little more polite as an English actor. And sometimes the notes are too brutal, and because there's not that we know each other too well. Like doing self-tapes together is a contentious issue. So we try and avoid doing self-tapes together.
At least you know.
At
least you know. That's so funny.
Gosh.
But how we like to round out our interviews is by presenting you with some popcorn questions.
Yes.
Now, these are just some fun questions just to get to know you a little bit more, the audience to get to know you a little bit more, and, fun memories that get to be had. So the first one is, what was the funniest moment or most memorable moment on the set of Happy Endings?
Funnest or most memorable?
Mm-hmm.
Most memorable was finding our lead actress. She's from Long Beach, Cambodian American. And in the recall that we had, okay, yeah, very quickly then. So for the recall that we had, she works in marketing. Her name is Jasmine Sim, but she loves acting. She's been doing acting lessons for a couple of years. She doesn't have an agent. She was an amazing actress. She elevated this film by a million feet, you know, like it was just unbelievable what she brought to it. And so giving her that opportunity and seeing her in the recall, and at the end of the audition, she cried because for her, she says, even if this doesn't go any further, just being in this room right now with you and Elodie is a dream come true. So thank you. So for us, being able to give her that opportunity, it was the best. It was the best feeling. Yeah.
That's lovely.
Love that. We have that very same similar story. And I think when people ask me why I do this, you know, is it for the money? Is it for the fame? It's for that right there. If you can do that for somebody, what better feeling in the world to be able to provide that for somebody? And our actress and our upcoming one, same thing. Unknown, complete unknown talent, but you could see it. Born natural. This is what she's meant to do. And she blew us away. And when we told her, yeah, the tears just came, and she's like, I would do this for free. And we're like, well, you're not. But, to bring someone to tears and know that you've allowed them to have something happen in their life that they've always dreamed of doing, that maybe they didn't think they could. There's no better feeling in the world to provide that for somebody. And so I love that you shared that. Okay.
Oh, and then quickly, and then what brought it all full circle was, a couple of weeks ago, it got into Cambodia Town Film Festival in Long Beach. She's from Long Beach.
Yes.
She went to the film festival 7 years ago when Angelina Jolie was at the festival. And we went with our film Happy Ending, and she got awarded Best Breakthrough Artist. Yes. And she had her own little expose in the film program. And like to do that for her in front of her community, like, oh God, that felt good. That felt really good.
Yeah, you guys are amazing. Like we said, amazing human beings. Okay, so this one we love, and the answers always, they're either really surprising or just like, we're like, really? Like what? Okay, and I'm really curious on this one, if you could go back and tell your 10-year-old self something, what would it be?
Oh. Don't do that.
Yeah. After speaking with you a little bit before we went live on this thing, I'm really curious because, yeah, your 10-year-old self, what would you tell old Johnny?
Oh God, don't take it so personal. Don't take it so personal.
Yeah. Great advice, right? I think. Whew, that's a brilliant answer. And yeah, that's all. It's a surface answer because you don't have to go any deeper because it answers it all right there. Don't take it so personal. And it goes back to what you said, just a little bit in the interview. Are you happy? Mm-hmm. Are you good? Because that's all that matters, right? Nothing else matters. Are you good with who you are and what you're doing and who you're doing it with? Then that's all that matters. And to not take anything else personally. Love that answer. Love it.
Exactly. One final question for you. If you could live in any film or television series, what film or television series would that be? I know, right?
I love fantasy. So my instinct went to either like the Tudors, because I love that period of English history.
Yeah.
Yes.
But sanitation and hygiene wasn't of the highest caliber then, so I probably would die of dysentery. Game of Thrones, let me have a dragon.
Absolutely.
Give me a prince with a dragon. Thank you.
Yeah, I could totally see you with the long blonde flocks on a dragon, my man. I could see that.
Hey,
I could see.
I've auditioned enough times for it.
Well, let's make that happen. Let's call somebody, man. Come on.
Yeah.
You're Targaryen all the way. Let's go.
Exactly. Well, listen, man, thank you again for coming on the show. This has been a phenomenal conversation. I wouldn't have replaced it for anything else. Of course, we got to plug everything because that's how it goes. So where can people find you on social media so we can direct them your way?
Mr. Jonathan Howard on Instagram. Mr. Jonathan Howard.
Fantastic. And I don't think if you said, but is it available? Is the film Happy Ending available to see anywhere? Can people find that and watch it?
It's not. It's still doing the rounds on the film circuits. But
totally understand.
It's coming to an end. Like we've been doing the film circuits for coming up 2 years. So when we share it, I'll definitely let you.
Yeah, it
guys
just
know
sounds like a good reason to have you back on, man. You got to come back on and tell
I'll
us.
send it to you guys.
Yeah.
I want you
Yeah.
guys to see it. So I'll
Yes,
send it to
please
you.
do. We'll promote it like crazy.
Oh, without
we
doubt.
followed you on all the accounts, so we'll promote it like crazy. We'll tag you, all the good stuff. But listen, man, thank you again for your time today. I know you are a busy, busy guy, but you're amazing. Keep doing what you do because you are very inspiring to others like myself and like Dustin. So just, yeah, this was an amazing conversation.
Likewise, guys. Love what you're doing. It's great. You guys are good people. So thank you very much. Been a pleasure talking to you both.
Oh, same,
Thank
and
you.
right back at you. You're a good human, beyond just the talent and what you provided for everybody trying to get into the industry. It's more what you provided as a human being and how to be a good husband, how to be a good father, just how to be a good man. And we need a whole lot more of that. And you definitely demonstrated that tonight as to who you are as a human being. So even more so, thank you for that, my friend. And yeah, we appreciate you.
All right, guys. Lots of love. Keep in touch, okay?
All right, now take care.
All right, man. I just love every single time how we just come across such wholesome individuals. We've gotten very lucky. Now, there's been a handful of people that were like, they were okay, whatever. They were a little standoffish. But I would say a good 90% of our guests, like, if not more, have been just very genuine, awesome people.
Yeah, no doubt about it. This guy is just relatable. He's real. He those are my favorite type of people to not only interview but just get to know and develop a relationship with, because that's a guy you could just go hang out and have a beer with. Well, no, not now. Not
anymore.
Have a non-alcoholic brew. But yeah, just a guy you could go hang out with and just enjoy a conversation and have a fun time. And those are the people that you not only want to have in your life but also want to work with and do things with. And so yeah, just wow, man. What an inspiring guy.
Yes, he really is. He really is. Thank you again, Johnny Howard, for coming on the show. All right, now it is time for the box office. It's time for the top 5. What am I doing? I don't know where we're at right now. Okay. Where? I'm feeling the walls. Everything feels good. Okay, fantastic.
Are you feeling the walls?
Yeah, I don't know.
You got a little too excited about the happy ending, my friend.
I did. It was crazy, man. It was crazy. But this week's top 5 is top 5 favorite box office bombs. Man, oh man. We talked about this a little bit earlier in a earlier episode, but man, I think this one's going to be fun. These are some fun films that just definitely did not get the recognition that they deserved. Maybe they got it a little bit later when it went to VOD or things like that, but we'll talk about them, man. Number 5 for me goes to Grown Ups 2. Adam Sandler and his group of guys just having a whole bunch of fun, man. The first one was very successful. Like, probably his most mainstream successful film ever to hit the box office.
Yeah, without doubt.
Then the second one comes out and it didn't do well at all at the box office. But then when it came out to VOD or Family Video or Blockbuster, because I think this was around that time when those were still around, it was very good. I remember renting it and bringing it home, and I was very happy with it. So I don't know why I wasn't engulfed in the film industry like I am now when that film came out. But again, I think this film could have done way better. But there's all sorts of politics that go behind the scenes when it comes to marketing a film and distributing a film. So number 5 for me goes to Grown Ups 2.
I agree with everything about that. That's another one of those things where the first one was a hit, you didn't need the second one. Just stop.
Yeah.
Hollywood sometimes banks on, we need more money, so let's try this again, and it doesn't work sometimes. My number 5, you would think out of the gate, would be great. It's a suspense kind of horror thriller. It's got Jennifer Lawrence, it's Javier Bardem, Ed Harris, Michelle Pfeiffer. You're thinking, hit? Not. It cost a lot of money to make Boys and Girls and didn't make a lot of money at the box office. It's basically about this husband and wife. Oh, and Darren Aronofsky is like the writer and director who's had a good track record, but it's about a husband and wife who the husband's kind of old enough to be the dad of the wife, but they move into this old creepy house and then the adult sons come to live with them, and it starts getting really creepy. Then a doctor comes and it's It's a really weird plot that I think could have worked, but didn't. It just, something didn't click, and the audience was like, nah, we're good. And it kind of bombed. I think really, that's my opinion. I think this thing bombed because it was hard to follow. It just, in some points, didn't make sense. This is a classic example where you have a great director, a great writer, a great cast, and the story just didn't work. Maybe it was the editing. I don't know. But something didn't work right in this film, and it sucked.
This was the one with Jennifer Lawrence, right?
Yeah, Jennifer Lawrence, Javier Bardem. Like I said, this thing should have worked. It did not. No. And yeah, I want to say I stayed through it, but I could also maybe have said I walked out of this and finished watching it when it came on cable, on streamer.
Yeah.
I think that's more likely what happened, because this is a rough one. Even on a streamer, this is one where you would have to just like step away from it and come back, and then step away from it and come back. It's not one where you're just glued and sit there. It's just not. My number 5, Mother.
Makes sense. I have never seen that one.
Yeah, it's
first time hearing about it. I'm
sure
I've seen the trailer, but yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to see it. It's a waste of time. Don't do it.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. My number 4 goes to Lightyear. Disney really dropped the ball on marketing this film, or how they anticipated or trying to approach marketing this film, because everybody thought this was just going to be like a Buzz Lightyear spinoff. Well, it's not Buzz Lightyear. It is a completely different astronaut that is like, he's the reason Buzz Lightyear was created. He was literally the inspiration behind the toy. So I think, yeah, we've talked about it multiple times on the show, and this was way back, so we'll bring it back up to try to refresh some people's memories. We should have seen in the trailers Andy sitting down in the movie theater about to watch this film with a Buzz Lightyear toy, so that we could kind of connect the dots, like, okay, this is the guy who inspired Buzz Lightyear, or who was inspired by Buzz Lightyear, or whatever. It was a good film. Like, it wasn't bad at all. I mean, theatrically, it was garbage. Like, nobody was there. It's a kid's movie. When we went to go see it, there was like no kids in the theater. So that was a big thing. And yeah, I think it was just a misstep on the marketing attempt, because nobody really knew what the movie was about, which was unfortunate, because like I said, it was a really good movie. So number 4 for me, Lightyear. Sorry to say that it sucked.
Yeah, no, and yeah, because I got to be honest with you, I really enjoyed the film. But you know, we're big movie guys and huge movie fans, so the second you sit down and you're 5 minutes into the film, we could figure out the story. So you're like, okay, well, now this is what this is, right? Yeah. And that was the thing, because like you said, they even opened the movie with Andy watching the movie. So you had that. Why wasn't that used in the marketing to better explain the fact? You had it. Like, just use that to say, this is what it is. This is the idea that we never saw that scene in any of the marketing of that film is where they tragically just misstepped and fell on themselves. It's like, it just didn't make sense. My number 4 is also where the irony of this, tragically misstepped and fell on themselves, because I'm talking about stuntmen. I'm talking about The Fall Guy. Now, y'all, come on. You're coming off of the massive success of Barbie, the massive success of Oppenheimer, your 2 main stars, Gosling and Blunt. And it's a beloved show from the 80s. It's got action. It's got suspense. It's got a great soundtrack. They reference Taylor Swift. Everything in this should work. But you failed to market it. You didn't market. In fact, the first big marketing that I saw for it was the weekend that it came out, when Gosling hosted Saturday Night Live and Blunt joined him on there and kind of made a knock back and forth. That was the first big push of marketing. Too little, too late at that point, guys and gals. So I don't. And I highly recommend all of you go and watch it on Peacock right now, and the extended version of it. It's a great film. It is a true love letter to stuntmen and what goes on and how they are perceived and the actual hard work that they do. It's a beautiful story. It's fun. There is a lot of action, and it's funny, and it's intense, and it's emotional. It's got everything you want. There's a mystery to it. I don't want to blow it for anybody, but there's a mystery aspect to it, and it's great. It's one of those fun summer blockbusters that normally everybody flocks to. I think there's a theme here with these things, especially on my list, that it just, nobody knew about it. Nobody knew. And I don't know how you drop the ball on that. I don't know how you drop the ball on that. But I highly recommend it. My number 4, The Fall Guy. And if you're old like me and you remember the Fall Guy TV show, they're in it. Heather Thomas and Lee Majors are even in it. You got to stay till the very end. But they give a cameo. The song is in it. Well, I'm not the guy to... Everything about it is in it. It should have worked. It should have worked.
Craziness, man. Craziness. My number 3 goes to Jack Frost. Now, this one came out quite a little bit ago. This was Michael Keaton. I love this film.
Me too.
It's so freaking good. You have people in there from like, wasn't that John Travolta's wife? And
yeah,
then,
Kelly Preston. Yep.
Yeah, and then the best friend was Baratheon in Game of Thrones, so he went on to do great things. It was a great movie. I watch it almost every freaking year when Christmas time comes around. Like, I love this freaking movie. So when I went back to do research on this particular top 5 subject, I was like, are you serious? What? Like, I had that thing on VHS, bro. I had that thing on VHS. Like,
I love that.
This is how far back I've been watching this film. And to see that it did not do well in the theaters kind of made me sad. Not even gonna lie. Kind of made me sad. But yeah, man, my number 3, Jack Frost. Be sure to check that out. I think I found it last year on Max. But I think it bounces around. It's one of those licensing one that can go literally anywhere. So check Max, but you can always check the search bar or go into Google and say Jack Frost streaming and be sure to check it out. So yeah,
there you go. 3. My number 3 is just another example of a complete and utter failure of marketing. This film is beautiful. This is a film you sit down and you watch with your family, and it has a meaningful message behind it, and it's moving. It's funny. I cried. I'm not even going to kid you. I cried. It moved me to tears. It is a beautiful film written by John Krasinski. And it's a can't miss. You need to see it, but apparently nobody did. So I highly recommend catching this on streamers. It's If, Imaginary Friend. If you guys remember it, Krasinski, it's the female that plays the little daughter, Kaylee Fleming, just unreal. But then, of course, Ryan Reynolds, John Krasinski, Phoebe Waller-Bridges, Steve Carell, and the last role for Lou Gossett Jr., before he passed away. This is a beautiful story. Just an absolutely beautiful story. And the imaginary friends there's a meaning behind it. There's a meaning why they're being seen and what it represents and how it plays out in the family dynamic. And the way it's done, just, it breaks my heart that this film didn't get marketed properly. I don't know what it was. Were they nervous about it? Maybe they didn't know how to market it, because it is a very story-driven drama.
Yeah.
But it's also comedic with big, goofy, imaginary friend characters. And I think maybe it was a failure on the marketing team to know how to market this film. And that's sad, because it was a beautiful film. So I'm just going to leave it there. And I say I highly recommend, if you want just a good film you can sit down with your family and watch and maybe have a box of tissues, If. It's beautiful. Have you watched it yet?
Not yet.
Oh, you guys got to check that one out. It's so good. You guys will cry. I know you will. It's so good, though.
It's so good. So good. Number 2 for me goes to The Suicide Squad. This is the second iteration, not the Jared Leto one. I like this one. I am not gonna lie. I mean, I think it really got hit by the pandemic. This was definitely Gunn's footstep in the door at DC and Warner Brothers Discovery. So I think the film, like, being received so well, and I mean, I wouldn't say so well. I think lukewarm, because there was a huge piece of the consumer that really did enjoy it. But then, I mean, there was obviously the haters. There's always haters. But I think this film was awesome. I really liked it. I've watched it multiple times. And not just because John Cena's in it, but it was obviously so successful that they did the spinoff series with Peacemaker, and hopefully we can get a season 2 for that. But
it's coming.
I really did enjoy it. And then plus Grandson, who was the band that I took my wife to bring her up on stage and propose. They did a song in that film, so that was really cool. And yeah, man, I really actually enjoyed this film. So number 2 for me, The Suicide Squad.
I think this one was a victim of the whole Snyderverse war.
Yeah,
a lot of the haters wanted to, and while David Ayer directed the Suicide Squad, it was part of the Snyderverse, and there was that whole thing about we want Snyderverse. So the idea of Gunn coming in and going, well, we're just going to change it up. I think a lot of it was a victim of that, in my opinion, because I'm right there with you. This was comic book accurate. It was spot on. It was entertaining. It was fun. It set up so many cool things.
Fucking Polka Dot Man, bro. Dot Man.
Gunn is the only one that I know that can take obscure characters like Rocket Raccoon or Polka Dot Man and make them viable. It's brilliant how he does it. And so, yeah, I think that everybody should pay attention to that film. I think because it just shows you the brilliance that he is. My number 2, I would tell you about it, but I'm not allowed to. That's rule number 1. I think a lot of people are going to scratch their heads and go, what do you mean this was a failure? This was not a box office bomb. Yes, it was. This thing found its success and all of the hype and all of the glory as a cult film, as a following. It was found afterwards because at the box office, it was a total and complete bomb. And I'm talking about Fight Club. Yeah, Fight Club, Ed Norton, Brad Pitt, bitch tape Bob, all of that. It was a bomb. Nobody fucking saw that shit in theater. Now it's a massive hit, right? Everybody knows it, everybody quotes it, everybody loves it. But for whatever reason, right? And at this, you gotta understand, at the time that this thing came out, Pitt and Norton were like riding high. Why this thing didn't hit? I don't know. Was it touchy subject matter? Were they scared to market it? Was it limited release at first because they were, don't we? I don't know what it was. I don't remember specifically the marketing trend behind it, but I just know this is one of those when you're sitting at home on the couch, and at the time that this thing was released, you're still kicking back watching cable, like HBO or something like that. You found this thing in the middle of the night where you're up late, you're flipping channels, and you're like, oh, what's this? Brad Pitt. And then you're like, holy shit, this is amazing.
Really good.
But for whatever reason, that was not the case. This one lost a ton of money, but now the studio is recouping because, like I said, it's had a life now over the past 10, 15 years. It's banking all kinds of money in home releases now. But back in the day, they took a bath on it, and it was like, oops. But, and I don't have to tell you to watch it. I mean, at this point, I'm pretty sure 99% of our listeners or viewers have seen this film. It's, like, huge. But, yeah, my number 2, a big box office bomb, Fight Club. What?
Do you think that was the best film that Brad Pitt's ever made?
Yeah. Yes. Bullet Train, real close. Yeah, and you know how I feel. I'm not a massive fan of Brad Pitt. Nothing against him. I'm just not like a huge fan of him. But I was really, I could talk all day about Fight Club, and I really liked Bullet Train. But I think Fight Club had a lot to do with David Fincher.
Yeah, agreed.
He's brilliant, and I think anything he does is brilliant, so it was hard not to have that thing. Plus, it's one of the rare films I didn't figure out. When the surprise twist comes, I was like, shit.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm normally really good at, but Fincher gets me sometimes. So
Yeah.
you know, but I think that's probably, and if you think about it, Fincher with Seven.
Yeah.
See, now you're killing me. Now I would have to throw those 3 in: Fight Club, Seven, and Bullet Train.
Yeah.
But there you go.
Yeah, I know, because I was trying to think, because I mean, people always talk about Benjamin Button, you know, where he ages backwards.
Yeah.
So I'm like, why?
I wasn't
Why do we
really a
talk about
fan
that?
of that. Like, I just,
Yeah.
I didn't,
Yeah, very weird, very weird. Anyway, my number 1 goes to Honey Boy. Honey Boy, Shia LaBeouf's Honey Boy, talking about his life as a kid in a interesting relationship with his dad while he's trying to start his career as like a 12-year-old kid. Honey Boy really struck home with me because I felt like I could relate a lot to it with the relationship between myself and my father. So I always really enjoyed it because at the end of the day, even if a situation is really fucked up, you're still going to love that person because it's your dad, even though they make mistakes and do all of
Sure.
these crazy things. But it was really well acted. Shia LaBeouf did an amazing job playing his own dad. And like, yeah, I think this was right before the pandemic, or like right at the point in time before they started shutting down theaters, or right when they started opening up theaters. I can't remember. It's all one big blur. But yeah, it was a phenomenal film. I think you can still rent it or watch it on Amazon Prime.
pretty sure.
But this was an amazing film. It was freaking fantastic. This one, and he came out with Peanut Butter Falcon around the same time, and that was a great film as well. So yeah, Honey Boy, my number 1.
Yeah, what I hate about this is, and I think it led to maybe some of its failure at the box office, was this was when he was still kind of going through his little bouts, and he some bad shit from set came out with him and what is it, FWT Twigs, whatever, however, I forget what her name is, but his female co-star accused him basically of assault and stalking,
Yeah.
and I feel like the film was overshadowed by all of the bad press of everything that he was kind of going through in his life at that point, which is sad because the film, like you said, is brilliant, and his brilliance shows through in it. Same with Peanut Butter Falcon. I've been a fan of his. Obviously, I was not watching Disney shit unless Emily was watching it, and Emily never caught on to Even Stevens. So the first that I saw of this young man was Project Greenlight with Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, and the movie The Battle of Shaker Heights with our boy Foggy from Daredevil and Amy Smart. And all the behind the scenes stuff, you get a look at what was going on with him, with his mom and his dad and his family. They talk about it, the drugs and the hippie nature of the family and the pressure. And they talk, but you also, in Project Greenlight and the making of that film, you see this kid's talent. You see that, you know, he's going to go on from this movie and be a big star. You can just, I highly recommend, if you can find that thing anywhere. I wish they would bring that back. I know they tried it with Issa Rae and it just failed. But I wish Equity, whatever the name of their company is, I wish they would bring it back and try again, because so good to watch the process of a movie being made, you know, and then seeing how it's all done. I love that. Yeah, Honey Boy, great choice, and I hate that it didn't do well. My number 1, I think the only people that went and saw it are people that are or aspire to be filmmakers.
Agreed.
I don't think anybody else saw it. I'm talking about The Fabelmans, which was the true life story of Steven Spielberg. A fictionalized true life story of Steven Spielberg. It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. It is a stark look into this young man's mind about his love for film, his love for storytelling, the challenges he has to overcome to become who we know he is now, and all of the process of the dynamic of the family that didn't always support him and didn't just... Everything about this film is brilliant, and I think it was either the victim of, it was story-driven, and we know those don't do really well right now. Perfect example, just recently here with Tom Hanks, not story-driven, nobody gave a shit. Nobody went and saw it. Which is odd because Tom Hanks recently came out and said, I think the era of these big superhero blockbuster, it's over. People want more story now. Apparently not, Tom.
Apparently not.
But I think that it was partly the victim of that. And then also it was on the cusp of, it was released right on the cusp of the beginning of all of the anti-Jew sentiment and everything that's been going on as of over the past couple of years. It was released right when that thing really kicked off. So I think a lot of the anti-Semitism and we don't know how to market a film about Jewish and I think that played into it as well. But I would highly recommend it. If you saw Saturday Night, so that's the young man that plays a young Steven Spielberg. He's a brilliant actor. And I just, this is a film, if you're a filmmaker, you need to watch. Because not only is it a great story and it's great storytelling, but visually it's a great filmmaker's film. Highly recommend it. Unfortunately, the studio took a bath on it, but when it's Spielberg, you're okay with that. You're like, we'll take a bath on Spielberg. You're fine. It's good. The Fabelmans, guys, check that. I mean, just stellar cast. Also, fuck, man, Michelle Williams and Seth Rogen, and just like so many good people in this thing. Like, what?
Yeah, freaking the Riddler.
Yeah,
Paul Dano.
Yeah, yeah, Paul Dano is his dad, and it's just like creepy as fuck. I mean, he's a good creepy guy.
Yeah,
Paul Dano's a good creepy guy, man. It's just like almost every movie that I've thoroughly enjoyed Dano in, he's a total creeper. I mean, just like
except Dumb Money, he did really good.
That was totally off character from what you're normally used to seeing him in, and which is like there you see his true talent, how awesome he is. Because normally he's just a creeper. You're like, I need a creeper, Dano. Call him up. Yeah, it's so funny, man.
It is. Gabriel LaBelle, that's his name. Gabriel LaBelle,
yes.
Young man who played Steven Spielberg and Lorne Michaels.
I mean, there you go. That tells you everything you need to know. Probably two of the most powerful Jewish men ever.
I know, right? That's so freaking funny. Well, we want to know, what is your favorite box office bomb? Be sure to comment below in the YouTube comment section. Be sure to add us on X, Twitter, Threads, all the good places. Thank you for the fan interaction.
Yes.
Now the box office recap. Man, oh man, Venom: The Last Dance came in at number 1 with $26 million. This has been out for what, 2 weeks now?
Yeah. And I think this weekend crossing over the $100 million mark finally. So that's interesting. But yeah.
It is, man. And I really haven't seen anybody talk about it.
Me either.
To be honest, which is crazy. The Wild Robot came in at number 2 with $7.5 million. Smile 2 came in at number 3 with $6.8 million. The first one was very successful, but I have the same thing with Venom. I haven't seen a lot of people talk about Smile 2 as well. Conclave came in at number 4 with $5.3 million. And then here, the Tom Hanks, Rita Wilson, Robert Zemeckis, is that who it is?
Yeah.
Directed. That came in at number 5 with $5 million. New movies coming out this week. Heretic.
Yep.
That is the fucking what's his face, goofy ass English guy who is kind of a douchebag. It's fine. The best Christmas pageant ever. Elevation, Bird, and Weekend in Taipei.
Yes, Taipei.
Taipei. Movies you can still go see right now are Small Things Like These, Anora, Beetlejuice in select theaters near you, We Live in Time, Terrifier 3, and of course the films I listed above. And then of course, going over to IMDbPro's top trending segment, Venom is the top streaming movie, even though I haven't seen anybody talk about it. The top trending TV show is of course The Penguin, because it is huge. I caught up on the current season or the current episode last night. Man, spoiler alert, I really thought she killed his mom. I was like, I mean, she's dying anyway. I wouldn't be surprised if they went ahead and, but you know.
But then she had sympathy for her when she started going through the dementia shit and lost where she was. She's like, because Sophia's had a rough life. So that's what makes bad guys so good is when you find the likable factor in them,
Yeah.
right? Like you feel for Sophia, even though she's a hardcore stone killer bitch, but you feel for her. And when you nail that, man, and they are, although Colin Farrell insists, because everybody's kind of like looking at Penguin right now, if you're watching the show, as an anti-hero. He's not a bad guy. He's just trying to get himself out of the dump in his bad, shitty life and overcome. But he says, and I've seen him interview after interview now, says, if you like him after episode 8, something's seriously wrong with you.
Oh,
he
shit.
said, I will bet not a person watching this show will have anything but utter despise and hatred for him by the end of the episode.
Well, I was still sticking up for him. I was like, I don't think he meant to kill his brothers. But then I watched the after show interview thing that they do, and everybody was like, no, he did that shit on purpose.
Yeah, he
like,
wanted mommy all to himself. Yeah, that motherfucker's
exactly.
like, boom, like, yeah.
He was like, see y'all trying to get out of there. Oh, that was so fucked up. And the irony that was that same hole saving his life from the bomb.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Is crazy.
Yeah. And that our boy's going to be the bad guy. He's going to be a serial killer. You know, they're setting him up as the stuttering little sidekick. Oh, is Penguin's going to take care of him? This motherfucker, if everybody's like thought process is right, all the comic geeks, myself included, are out there. We're pretty sure he's a hardcore serial killer that you're going to find out. And if that's true, that's like fucking awesome. I don't know. The real question is how does Sophia survive? What's the dynamic between Penguin and Sophia at the end of this thing? Because both of them are expected to be in the Batman 2.
Yeah.
So what does that mean for the end of the finale tonight? Or of Sunday? Because they're saying this thing is an epic finale. It's the longest episode. It's over an hour long. It's like hardcore.
Like
everybody's hyping it up.
Yeah.
I can't wait. I'm so pumped for that episode, man. And now even more so, the rumors are coming out. I know we're kind of losing track here, but the rumors are coming out that there's going to be a Joker series with Barry Keogh's Joker, and it's going to be grounded and gritty like Penguin. And I'm like, hell yes, bring that on. I mean, Matt Reeves, man, he's killing it.
Best show on television right now.
Hands down.
Without a doubt. And then, of course, the top trending star was Teri Garr, who sadly passed away. I hate when the number one person
I know is because
who passed
Quincy
away.
Jones probably next week, unfortunately. But yeah,
for real. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for tuning in to episode 275 of ITCAFpodcast. Oh my goodness, was it a great show. Be sure to follow the company on social media. We're at Crazy Ant Media. Be sure to follow ITCAFpodcast on all social media platforms. And then, of course, our mental health podcast, Everything's OKP. That one is going to have a new episode coming out next week, so be sure to check that out. And then you guys know you can follow us both personally on social media. Myself at JLoganAustin and
at Crazy Ant CEO.
Yes, sir. And then you guys know you can subscribe to this podcast anywhere you listen to your podcast. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play Music, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Stitcher, and so much more. We also do a video version of the show, so be sure to check that out. It's a lot of fun to watch it, guys, because we do get very animated. So to see our faces and our goofiness, it's a lot of fun. And we take a lot of pride in our setup, okay? We take a lot of pride in our sets. Obviously we did the desk for so many years. I know he takes very good pride in that desk back there.
It's my shrine, man. It's my creative go-to. It's just like, yeah.
That's why
I got to get me a neon sign now, man. If we're gonna keep doing this from separate offices, cool. I need to get my neon.
Check it out, man. Hobby Lobby. Now, of course, be sure to visit our website, www.crazyantmedia.com. And then, man, oh man, I mean, we had some great things to talk about this week. Of course, Star Wars. I love talking about freaking Warner Brothers and Paramount being in the same position and looking at their last 5 years of film.
Yeah.
Because it really has been a roller coaster for both of them. And then, of course, trying to guess Christopher Nolan's film and then figure out what this Bob the Builder freaking shit is going to be. But, man, it was a great show. It was a great show.
It was. Listen, I love anytime that we can talk about movies because I feel like it's up to us. It's up to us to keep movies going. The survival of movies depend on people like us. The people that will sit in a theater by themselves and watch a movie, right?
Yeah.
It's we're the ones keeping it alive, and we need more of us out there. Come on, cinephiles, let's go. We got to get there, man. We got to get it back. There's just something special about it in a theater. And every time we talk about it, hey, I'm the first guy to kick back with my wine and my snacks on my comfy couch and watch it. Great. But it just, for me, you cannot match that feeling of being in the theater with the sound and the lights and sometimes people's reactions, sometimes not, because you're there by yourself. But it's the way it was meant to be. That's all I'm saying. And, we got to keep it alive, guys. So any show that we could talk about that, I love that.
For sure, man. For sure. Cinephiles unite.
Yes.
Oh, my goodness. And then, of course, we know she's a cinephile. The one, the only
Oprah!